the meeting to order. Pledge of allegiance, please.
United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Certify the posting of the meeting, please.
I certify that on Tuesday, April 2nd, 2024, the agenda for the Commonwealth Annual Meeting for Thursday, April 18th, 2024, was posted at the Rome Town Hall at 12:45 p.m., Picture LLC at 12:30 p.m., Smithfield Board Action Statement at 12:35 p.m., published in the Wisconsin Rapids Tribune on April 1st, 2024.
Thank you. Number 4, speak your peace commitment. A reminder that town board members have adopted the 9 tools of civility, which commits the board members and the public to be mindful of how we treat one another at meetings. At tonight's meeting, we will be following parliamentary procedure and rules of decorum, which will adopt respectful and avoid personal attacks, refrain from interrupting one another, and confrontational language. Thank you. And we'll also be using these cards that you have been handed out this evening. The green is for yes votes, the red is for no votes, and when you're done this evening, if you could return them please to the box, the blue box on the back table. Thank you. Item number 5, consideration of the April 18th, 2023 meeting minutes. Supposed to be done by the public, is that correct?
Yes.
Nick?
Well, so technically, they are.
Okay, all right then. Right.
We have a number of
All right, so motion by Supervisor Bauerheit, second by Supervisor Cole to adopt the meeting minutes from April 18th, 2023 annual meeting. Any discussion?
Can you clarify?
All in favor?
Please, versus what's printed on the paper. The paper says April 19th, 2022.
It says April 18th, 2023. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Number 6, review of financial statement, Wisconsin Stat 1641.
You all got packets tonight. In the packet contains the financial statement. So for 2023, expenditures, which are unaudited, are $8,207,565.56. Is what was budgeted at the expenditures were $8,238,685.63. There's a breakdown in your packet, line by line, of what we expended in 2023, and we can take questions if there's any questions on the financials.
Any questions? Number 7, state of the town report.
In the same packet, you'll see there's reports from all of the departments. Highlights from the clerk treasurer's office in 2023, 2 elections were held. They collected a room tax revenue of $977,000. Moving on to the fire department, total calls for 2023 were 181 versus 125 in 2022. Medical calls were 46 versus 36. The fire department participated in many community events to include Snow Blast, Estate Trout Street, Camelot Frolics. In 2023, they received a new Ford pickup truck that was outfitted as the command vehicle that the chief utilizes. The fire department would like to remind all of you they're always looking for new members, and you can talk to Steve Payne to consider joining the team. The library updated the children's area with beanbag chairs and a reading tent. Over 24,000 visits were made to the library in 2023, and they have 1,287 archives. They circulated over 21,133 items that were borrowed in 2023. The municipal court handled 785 cases in 2023 versus 565 cases in 2022. Municipal court, for all your information, is held the third Tuesday of every month, starting at 10 a.m. and is open to the public unless a juvenile matter is heard. Our contracted ambulance service had 303 calls in the town of Rome last year versus 288 in 2022. The top 3 reasons for calls are falls, chest pain, and shortness of breath. In the police department, we received a new 2023 Dodge Charger last year. We added a full-time community service officer that's been dealing with the dead brush and community type calls. The total calls in the police department were 1,800 last year versus 1,600 in 2022. We issued 71 citations during the boat patrol for 2023 and logged 392 hours of patrol. Public Works repaved 8.9 miles of town roads. Ridership at Syracuse Park increased to 7,297 riders. We decreased the tippage and waste falls last year to just over 2 million tons versus 3.9 in 2022. Fire-wise, hauled a total of 599 loads from 734 lots. The water utility completed 15 new service hookups. The water utility director retired in 2023, and they switched the management of that facility. They certified 2 new employees as operators in 2023. In building and zoning, we issued 93 business licenses in 2023, issued 199 zoning permits, 268 building permits, 64 new homes were permitted in 2023, down from 67 in 2022. Our 2023 major projects, we implemented an online camping permit system and payment system. We Energies completed 15,000 feet of natural gas line main extensions in the southwest portion of town. We added a kayak launch to the Walden Park. Completed pavement replacement on Apache Avenue from State Highway 13 to County Z and from 8th Avenue to 10th Avenue. Various other town roads were paved. We received an economic development grant of $50,000 that went for Rome Town Center park improvements, and a mural project was completed on the Public Works building. 2024 projects, we plan on paving more roads to include Archer Avenue from 15th Avenue to County Z, Rapids Trail from 15th Avenue to Quiet Waters Trail, Akron Drive from County Z to State Highway 13. We added 2 miles of track at Syracuse, and that should open up this year sometime. They plan to do a town-wide fire-wise pickup in the highway department this fall again, and we continue to partner with We Energies on natural gas expansion in the southwest portion of town. And if anyone has any questions, we'd be free to entertain them. Carl?
Yeah, so how many officers are you down right now, as of today?
2.
When to be hired?
Posted, and we're trying to recruit officers. So we did interviews yesterday and trying to bring somebody on board soon.
How long have you been down to 2 officers?
Since February.
Who's their backup? If they have an issue, who's their backup?
Adams County, Lee County, surrounding agencies. I will make a note to the people that are here. We are still providing 24/7 police service. The CSO position is vacant, and one of the power car positions is vacant. so we still have 24-hour police coverage. Contrary to rumors that have started on social media that we've reduced office hours, we're still a 24/7 police department.
I have a question.
Excuse me, we do need to have people's names and addresses so we can have them recorded for the meeting minutes. Did you want them to come up and speak from the front, or do you want to take the microphone down?
I know I'm not Carl. You still want me to go to the podium?
That would be nice, ma'am, thank you.
Your special Carl. Well, my name's Lisa Lockwood. I'm a part-time resident.
Speak into the mic, please.
Oh, is it on? Boy, Carl, I'm really getting special attention right now that you missed out on. My name's Lisa Rock Williams. I'm considered a part-time resident, but I only live 20 miles away. And I've been a part of the community since the late 1980s. I was privileged to inherit my property. So I show up and I come out and I bitch most of the time. But I just listened to the report and I just listened to Carl's questions that weren't part of the report that were down to police officers. We're down an administrator and we're down a zoning person. And when I come into the building, which I do maybe every other month, although lately it's been at least once a month, there's nobody here to speak to. So the meeting wasn't truly published, granted, in the minutes, and the clerk stated the time and day she put the posting up. But if it wasn't for social media, I might not have been here tonight. And as the board has expressed to me before and this evening, as a part-time resident, my voice can be heard, but I don't get to vote. But my voice would say to all of you who get to vote, I'm really disappointed to not only know we don't have an administrator or anyone in zoning, and believe me, the chair apparently remembers me from the last time I was here when I was teed off about a bunch of letters I continually got about some downed trees when we did have a zoning person. And I know about all the clearing that gets done around here that doesn't follow usually the DNR rules, because they're special, like Carl. So my voice would tell you, as those who get to sit here and vote, and I don't. I hope you're all as disappointed as I am to know that we have a board that collects a whole lot of money. I believe it's stated $22 million a year to run our community from our tax money. We don't have an administrator. We don't have a zoning person. I don't know who's running the front desk, but somebody different every time I walk in the door. And apparently we're down 2 police officers. Where's our tax money going?
Two quick questions for Jason. First of all, how much time are you spending on administrator versus your official duty as chief of police? Because I would assume you would be a backup when we're short officers. And then the other question, being a short officers, are we going to have a hard time on the lake this summer as far as boat patrol?
I don't know the exact split of my time. When I'm needed on the road, I'm on the road. If I'm not needed, we've been at slow time since I've been in this position. So I haven't been needed. I think a couple Saturdays I went out. I went to a fire, I believe. for another incident as far as the boat patrol. I said I interviewed 2 people this week and we plan on bringing 2 people on board. I have 2 boat patrol officers returning from last year, so the boat patrol hours will be unaffected over what was budgeted for them last year. We're actually adding a boat patrol officer over what we had last year.
Could you please state your name and address as everybody else has to,
We
please?
need everybody to use microphones. We can't hear Jason.
Yes, I know, I know, Jean.
They need to use microphones.
Yes.
Otherwise, why come? You can't even hear what's being said.
I understand. Would you please give your name and it's,
The people online can't hear you, they're messaging us as always can hear you.
I understand that, that's why we always state, can you please give your name and address and come up to the podium, please? Can you give your name and address, please?
Donna Hansel, 241 Denver.
Donna Hasbro, 241 Penhurst. One-
So her question was, how much time am I spending in the police department versus the administrator? I split my time as needed. I've got called out to a few calls on weekends to assist the officers. I've been doing this position during the slow time of the year, November until now. So the police department has been adequately staffed over the winter time. Her second question was, how many boat patrol are we gonna have on the lakes? Being that officers, 2 of the full-time spots are vacant and being recruited for. And I said the returning part-time officers from last year are all coming back this year, and we're hiring 1 additional person. So the lake coverage will be the same amount of hours or more than it was last year as the budget allows.
Thank you. Yes, please, Phil, go up to the podium, please give your name and address. But wait, the gentleman said that people at home can't hear you.
Comment is about the mic. In the past, when I was around here, what we did was somebody from the town carried the mic and went to people. Why can't you do that?
That'll work.
Because we have someone that just had knee surgery, the other person is up for knee surgery, and we're just asking for a little fluff. All right, please, Jackie, thank you.
I got it.
Thank you. Does someone have a question, please? Anyone have a question? We appreciate your cooperation. We want to accommodate everybody. Any other questions on that item? Yes, sir, in the back. Nick will be right there.
There you go. Who had their hand up? Here you are, sir. Yep.
Thomas Wright, 113, Arrowhead Trail, Nacusa 54457. Question is, when will the TIF be closed out? I see it started with a base rate of about 1.3 million. It's valued at over 81 million at the present time. When will that TIF be closed out?
I can answer that. From the original date that it was open, it's on track to be closed. There was anticipation of it closing early, but it's now projected to close on time, and that is 2032. Possibly a little earlier than originally planned, but it's still on track to close at its original date.
What was the town's initial investment in that has to be covered by the increment?
There was no investment or money spent by the town to be involved in the TID.
So the paving of Archer Avenue was out of general fund or your road fund, and was not, you didn't float a bond to pave Archer Avenue?
I'd have to look back and see, but I believe that was all part of the TID at the time. We can get back to you on that with an answer, Tom.
Okay. Didn't understand.
We have the budget book. Maybe we might, if somebody's got a budget book, we can look, maybe answer that for him now. Well, she's looking that up. If someone else has a question, it'll be right there. Okay, there was money back, I believe. We'd have to get more clarification, but there were some monies in 2020 or 2017. They must have done something. I can't answer clearly for you, Tom, but something was done in 2017 for an Archer project.
Okay.
But that, maybe that wasn't part of the TID, so we can get that back, we can get back to you on that with an answer it at a board meeting so everybody has clarity on that.
Appreciate it, thank you.
Is there something more specific you're looking for?
No, I just want to know when the TIF is going to be closed out.
All right, it'll be closed out when it was originally scheduled to be closed out.
Thank you.
The comment was that the web connection is going in and out, so those that are watching are unable to see or follow the meeting.
We apologize. Right, any other questions? Yes.
Kim Kelto, 1194 Archer Avenue. You see that also.
Pardon me?
Your name again, please?
Kim Kelto, C-A-L-T-E-U-S, 1194 Archer Avenue. And those who don't, you probably know my question. What's being done about the speeding on Archer? It's, when the road first was going in, I asked that the flashing speed things be put in an appropriate place where it will be safe for people to, drive that. I clocked people, I live right there, I'm about the only house on Archer Avenue who was affected by all this. Unbeknownst to me, by the way, I was not given any kind of warning about what was going on. But at any rate, I clocked people, I'm out there, and I have clocked people at 70, even 80. And the lowest that I've ever seen anybody speed is like 53. But I have seen and heard people going that fast. People are afraid to come to my house because they're afraid to get out of my driveway. So I'd like to know how you're monitoring the speeding, and I've also heard through like social media on Apache also. But it's really becoming a problem with the increased traffic with Sand Valley, putting in, 5 golf courses, community, and all this. So I'd like to know, one, if those speed monitoring things can be put before the hill and right after, I don't think a speed monitor flashing light has to be right outside the entrance to Sand Valley. But I do think it needs to be closer to 13th Avenue, that intersection, because the hill is, when you're coming down and going back up, you can't see that way, and you certainly can't see going west on Apache Avenue. So I'd like to know what's being done and how you're monitoring that, and can't we get that moved, and can't we get the speed limit lowered? Thank you.
I personally issued citations on that road. Other officers have issued citations on that road. We've pulled the data from the signs, and while you're correct, just like any other road, people speed on it and receive speeding citations, but the data from those signs doesn't show any more of a problem on that road. It records all the speeds that go by there. It records the maximum speed, and it records the time of the day that those vehicles go by there. And there are a few cars, you're right, there's cars that go 70 or 80 by there, probably 1 or 2 cars a day, just like there is other roads. 15th Avenue, State Highway 13, we wrote speeding tickets that are in the triple digits. We're out there enforcing the speed limits on all of those roads. As to the signs, they're in the location they're in because it's a radar unit and it requires a flat area, and if we put them over, I believe Administrator Gebbert had talked to you in the past about it. If we site them other places, they won't work at all. It'll just be X's on the screen, and you won't get any speed of the cars. That's why they're placed where they're at. We can't lower the speed limit on that road any lower than what it's at without doing a traffic study. And I can tell you, based on doing them on other roads, the DOT is not going to approve lowering the speed limit based on the percentile of cars that are going over the speed limit on the road that the signs capture, because we have that data off of the signs already.
I do know, Kim, there was some legislation last fall that the Wisconsin Towns Association, their lobbyist was in Madison trying to help move along. It's kind of slowed down. We could check on the status of that. I don't know if Jason is aware if it's moved any further, but we could look into it and see. It'll come up at conference probably again and see how it's moving along, or if it's going to go any further. Sometimes it goes on a fast track to allow more. Maybe Nick's even maybe aware if he's heard at his legal conferences, if it's moving along, it gives towns and villages more authority in changing their speed limits. But right now, as Jason stated, the DOT does not give us much leeway of changing our own speed limits. We have to follow the laws currently in place. So we'll do what we can to help. But as Jason stated, we're doing what we can.
Yeah, when Jamie was here, she also mentioned that,
You bought a portable one?
yeah, and that it was going to be tried out on Archer. I had never seen it on the lower part coming off of 13, Highway 13.
Does that even work anymore, or where is it placed? I think it's.
We have a speed trailer, the same thing is in effect. It requires level ground. It is a radar unit, so if it's placed on a hill, the radar shoots up in the sky and it will not capture vehicle speeds until you're right on top of the sign. And so then your speed displays for a half a second and you can't even read what your speed is. That's why they're set the way they're at. The ditches are also pretty deep on the side of that road, and it's a trailer. It has to be off the paved portion of the road, and it has to sit level. So we've looked at the area extensively, and we've got the signs in the best place that we can put them for how the technology works, which is in a straight line. I mean, if we put the signs on a hill, it's not going to capture the cars correctly.
I don't mean right on top of the hill, but there are flat areas for that. Dumper's trail, that's flat.
We can look into see what else. I believe also, didn't the Department of Public Works, Brad's not here for personal reasons, he's out right now, but I believe he also put some additional signage along there as far as crossings and things like that, or there's additional signage out there right now too that was added. So,
We're doing that in the 45 miles.
pardon?
There was red flags put on the 45 miles.
Right, so he's doing what he can. He's, and the police and Department of Public Works are doing what they can. So we can keep monitoring also the legislation to help us do what we can to lower the speed limits. But right now, we also have to follow the DOT rules. So keep trying and keep enforcing. We know you well. All right, anyone else? Yes, sir. Nick will be right there.
Clyde Fairmeister, 180 Walton Court. If we're having a problem with speeding throughout the whole town, it sounds like our speeding fines are not up to par and they need to be raised.
The speeding fines are set by the judicial district that we're in state of Wisconsin through a bond book. So the speeding citations, and based on our municipal court, are set by judges across the state, and they put out what's called a bond book, and that's what the fine is. We can't raise our fine amounts for speeding. They're set by the state of Wisconsin. Tickets are being written. I doubt that this community has any more of a speeding problem than any other. In fact, from what I've been told it's less here because we have more patrol than some of our neighboring communities that don't have their own police department. There's going to be a percentage of people that speed no matter where you go. I mean, drive down the interstate, there's officers all over the interstate running radar, there's still people that fly past you like you're not moving when you're going 70 miles an hour.
Anyone else?
Jackson,
Oh, yes, ma'am?
1026 Chester Court,
We missed your name, ma'am. What was it?
Sharon Jackson.
Thank you.
I'm speaking of hills and blind spots. There's a road on Cranbrook that it sends your car up into the air and you can't see to the other side. And there's a lot of walkers and bikers through that area, and it's dangerous for them. I was wondering if something could be done about that hill.
All right, we'll make a note of it and have someone have a look at it.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
I'm still Donna Hasbro, 241 Penhurst. The only thing I want to say is that, like Jason said, people that are going to speed, they're going to speed. I had gone to him for speeding on Penhurst. I mean, it's 25. People average 45 to 50. He put the sign out there, you are going, and the sign was literally across the street from my house. And so it was summer, I'm out in the yard. I mean, I watched all day as people went down the street at 45. I mean, the sign, it didn't slow anybody down. So I'm sure Jason's doing what he can, but the sign, people choose to speed, they're going to speed.
Is there anyone else? Anyone else on the state of the town report? All right, thank you, Nick. You might want to remain standing. Well, there might be questions on this piece, otherwise you may have the council too. All right, number 8. Number 8. Resolution for a specific grant of authority from the town electors pursuant to Wisconsin Stats 60.102G, authorizing the town board of the town of Rome to sell approximately .8 acre portion of town-owned property located on Anawa Court, also described as a part of parcel identification number of 030-00216-0000, located in the southwest quarter, northeast quarter, section 15, town 20 north, range 05 east.
All right, good evening, everyone. In your packets, you have a resolution that's been proposed for your consideration. That resolution is for a grant of authorization to the town board to do what's called dispose of real property. And so the town did receive a request to sell a portion of property over, it would be off of a 32.75 acre parcel that the town owns. It's near the corner of Anawa Court and Twin Lakes Trail. I think there's a map in your packets. There's not. Okay, I have a map, but I only have one. So it's a large parcel of property. I think it was the court, or it's the court area, is I think what it is.
It's a quarry area, and it's a piece of property. If you have one, maybe you can hold it up, but I don't know if it's how big. It's east of Z, and it's actually in front of a property that only they could use. It's useful only to this parcel. And it's in the quarry, it's in the water, basically, and it fronts their property. It's only useful to them. So,
Technically, it's useful potentially to two parcels.
well, 2 parcels, but I'm sorry, you go ahead.
Yeah, so it's a landlocked portion that's being asked for. So it really would have use to one of 2 parcels that are open. What's being described there in the resolution is a bit over 0.8 acres. But if it went to the parcel to the east, it wouldn't be all of the 0.82 acres because of the dimensional restrictions we have with land divisions. So we have a dimensional restriction in the zoning district, R1 there, those parcels of no more than 4 to 1. So it wouldn't be all of the 0.8 if it went to one of the parcels. It could be all of the 0.8 if it went to the other one. So again, when the request was received, to dispose of any town-owned property, it does need an authorization from the electors under 60.10 sub 2, specifically here sub 2 sub G, and so it would take a vote by you all in the affirmative to even move forward with it. At February's town board meeting, it was February 15th, the town board did consider it, and because it requires approval by the electors, did then send it over to the annual meeting so you all could consider it before the town board made any further decision on it. The request came in from the parcel it would be to the east of the area that's being described. I believe that is the parcel, the only parcel there that does not have any on the water frontage. It's actually, it's further east than that. This would put at least part of that on some water, so it would have to be combined with their parcel. If it was purchased by them or anybody else, because you can't divide it and have it landlocked. But it was a request by the parcel owner to the east of this section. Correct. I know there were other hands up that I think.
I can probably speak loud enough. Cheryl Dadnay, Fort Falls Court. I was gonna just ask, so you said that it's being asked by the property owner, like a house that's there, that they want a piece of property from the town? And did they say what they're gonna use it for?
Yeah, I can take that. The parcel is an odd shape. The majority of the 32 acres is underwater in the quarry. So this is a tiny little chunk of land that abuts their larger lot. And I would guess, just looking at the map, it's maybe 60 feet from their property line to the water's edge. So it creates a tiny little sliver of land that the town owns in front of what they own, but the majority of the 32 acres is in the quarry.
Just curious, unless I missed it, the Tilton Clause from you, what are they gonna pay? What are they willing to pay for? I didn't see that.
This just authorizes the town to sell it. We would
Just authorizes us to sell it.
make a decision on the price based on what it's worth. I believe our assessor said it was worth, we have that number, Nick, off the top of my head, I wanted to say $3,500.
It's no different than when we sold a piece of land over by the water utility at one time. It was a small sliver and we sold it back to Camelot. And you authorized us to sell it. We didn't have a price on that at that time either, and then we decided at another meeting to sell it back to Lake Camelot.
My name's Dan Stoyle, 875 Plymouth Court. How did the town become owners of this property? Did we pay for it? What's the history on it?
I have no idea on the history of this piece of property. It's been in the town's possession for a long time.
My name is Teresa Janicki. I'm at 1476 Romowitz Drive. I just want to know, what is the property now zoned at? Is this a business, agricultural, or is the tax going to be going up for this? Is this going to be something that the town is going to actually benefit from by tax dollars being brought into the community.
The assessor estimated it was worth $3,500.
Are you asking the parcel itself, the one that's being requested, or the parcel to the east or north of?
Both, I guess.
So, as I said, the parcel to the east and the north, I believe, are R1 residential. Most likely, since this is public property, this would be PSP, I believe, zone, is usually what the town zone property
So
is.
then when it gets connected, they're gonna have water front then?
Partial,
So
yes.
then that would increase the property taxes?
Potentially. Again, there's two parcels that could purchase this.
Glenn Janicki, 1476 Wormwood Drive. I work for the town of Rome. I take care of that property. We keep a road going down there all the time. The end of it, I don't think in the summertime, you don't go down there at all, ever, without somebody down there with a family fishing, people watching birds, people watching the ducks. There's people down there all the time utilizing this property. For $3,500, is it really worth selling? Something that people in this town are using.
Yeah, that makes sense.
John Andresi, 1591 Alpine Drive. A couple of years ago, I was involved in a move to see about putting together a special fishery in regard to the Twin Lakes area. And the town has owned that, piece of property since time immemorial. It was used as a gravel quarry for town roads at that point in time. Since then, this access road that apparently I'm understanding is going to be put asunder is maybe not such a good idea. Given the situation where there was a possibility of getting the Wisconsin DNR to partner with the town of Rome to put together a fishery and a possible park there in that area that Mr. Janicki was talking about is something that I think should be given some serious consideration before Xing that access. We're going to leave the situation, please let me finish, Lauren. It would, as I understand it, it would prevent access to the rest of that town property. And if that's the case, I don't think the town really wants to do that. Thank you.
No, I think
think
it's
we're
a serious
confused on the piece.
misunderstanding where this piece of land is. Jason, if you would please explain to them where this piece of land
This
actually
piece
is.
of land is a tiny sliver off of Twin Lakes Trail. The property owner's address is off of Twin Lakes Trail. And it's a tiny little sliver of land. We would not encourage people to go on it because they would be trespassing on the homeowner's land that goes almost all the way up to the water right now. I mean, as I said, this lot is underwater, the majority of it, except for a tiny little sliver that abuts these two adjacent property owners' property. And if I owned all the property there, I certainly wouldn't want the town creating a park on a tiny little sliver of land that's 25 feet wide between my lot line and the water.
This is, unfortunately, you don't have the map. We didn't realize you didn't have a map in your packet. We apologize for the unfortunate, but this property is off of, if you're familiar with this side of town, it has nothing to do with the quarry park or that secret little driveway into a favorite fishing spot of many of us. But it goes up Anawa Court, up from Twin Lakes Park down to Twin Lakes Trail. There's a property to the north of that has a home on it, that's been there a very long time. And there's a home to the south of that. This home that's there, that they want to, there's a small cabin they want to build a larger home on. There's a very tiny little sliver of land that they're asking for, and that's the piece that we would like, that they've asked us to sell. So unfortunately, you don't have this map. It has nothing to do with the park, nothing at all. Well, it's not, no, it would be frontage that's under the water, so nobody could trespass or go on it. So the property to the north of them and the south of them, nobody could even walk on this right now. Nobody has access, because there's a home to the north of them and the south of them. So this would be access only for them and give them frontage. And as the Teresa said it would add tax dollars, but then they would have a little bit of water frontage, and the property taxes would go up. Does that explain it better, or help you understand a little bit better? We'd be happy to pass around the one picture we do have, if people would want to see it. Yes, Bill?
Just curious, I just want to make sure I understand. So this is actually, it's waterfront, so when the assessors put a value on it, did they consider that fact?
Yes, they did.
Okay.
We asked them to consider the fact, but we don't need to sell it for that. I mean, that's the value they.
Well, I know, I'm just.
Right,
I just
yes.
want to make sure I understood. If it is indeed waterfront, okay, well, we all know waterfront is not.
But it's not even that big. It's not
Well, no,
even.
but they'll attach it to their other property.
Correct. That is correct. And that's the amount the assessor, the value that the assessor put on it when we asked them and brought this forward to you to help us make this decision.
Greg Corning, 885 Richmond Way. Could you clarify if the resolution is to authorize the town of Rome to sell the property or to allow that landowner to buy the property?
It's only if you want to clarify.
It's to authorize the town of Rome to sell the property. So it isn't to any specific property owner, this would. Technically, with the only caveat that you can't just divide that out and landlock it, we couldn't do that. So really, there's only two property owners that can even purchase
Carl Hasdell, 241 Penrose Way. I make a motion, we sell the property at a minimum value of $3,500. Give the town authorization to go ahead and sell the property.
All right, so we have a motion by Carl Hasdo and a second by Jerry Iverson to the resolution for a specific grant of authority from the town electors pursuant to state stat 6010 sub 2 sub G to authorize the town board of the town of Rome to sell the approximately 0.8 of an acre portion of town-owned property located at Anawa Court. Parcel number 030-00216-0000.
Madam Chair, before you take the vote, just a general note, just so everybody's aware. What was done was a motion to approve the resolution or, authorize the town to sell. And then, like we've done in the past with property sales, it would be a recommendation advisory on the sale price.
Okay, for a minimum amount of $3,500? Any more discussion? She's got it. Yes, thank you, Kim, for the clarification. She's got it. Thank you. Oh, do you need to second, does that, no, we've got it.
I was just wondering where they got the $3,500 minimum from.
The assessor. The assessor is the one who gave us the value of the land.
Wasn't the same assessor that assessed
Wait,
mine.
can we?
Fair price.
Dan, how many small landlocked that piece of land is truly? So,
There's a house over by.
can we not just, can we? Yeah, there's a motion on the floor, please. Ma'am, yes.
Okay. Cindy Lewis, 991 Wellington Court. My question is, as you said, there's two owners, like what was the opportunity to purchase the land, give it to the other owner, or were they interested?
Again, the town has not advertised or moved forward at all with the sale of the parcel. That absolutely does not preclude the town from reaching out to the two property owners and soliciting offers from.
Teresa, did you have something else you wanted to add? No, seriously, did you have another question? Question in the back? Let's vote. All right. You want to do a voice vote or cards? Cards. Cards? And we have to count them.
Yeah, I know.
All right, you want to count them? All right, green. Green.
Everybody in favor, raise your green card. Hold it up so we can see it.
Green cards are yes.
No, we gotta know how many. Yeah, we have to know, we gotta know.
Green if you're voting yes, please.
I'm 115, there's minus 2 reds, there's an answer, 2 reds.
All right, who had reds?
No.
So 105 yeas,
5 nays.
How many?
105 yes, 5 no.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Motion passes. Right, we'll move on to number 9 then. Any business over which a town meeting has jurisdiction pursuant to Wisconsin Stats 60.11 sub 6. Questions and comments from the floor, please.
Motion. Comment first.
My name is Brad Atkins at 373 Lancer Court. I am a Lake Sherwood Commissioner on the Tri-Lakes Board. I have a statement I'd like to read regarding the Project Clean Nanabulga project. Why is the Tri-Lakes Management District looking to the town of Rome for financial assistance? There is a solution, not a Band-Aid. Tests of the nanobubbler system here and other locations, including Molier's 3,000 operations in over 54 countries, will reverse the degradation of our lakes and enable your full-time recreational use throughout the year. You may or may not be aware that our 3 man-made lakes are classified as eutrophic by the Wisconsin DNR. This means that due to excessive contaminants, the weeds are growing and changing the environment of the lakes through additional sediment, loss of oxygen, higher water temperatures as the season goes on. This allows the algae to bloom and continue the cycle of degradation. Although it has been suggested by a few that the residents are 50% responsible for this contamination, from every study done on our lakes going back to 1977, there is nothing to suggest that the 50% is even close. The high concentrations of phosphates on our soils generally came from the tree farms and earlier regular farms, as most of the phosphates are legacy from years ago. The bulk of the additional nitrates and phosphates are flowing in from the 14-mile watershed. Simply put, if the lakes die, the town of Rome and most local businesses will also suffer. There are studies showing the correlation between lake conditions and property values. The town of Rome has grown and succeeded because of our three lakes and owes its current valuations to this fact. The current equalized valuation of the lake's residential properties is about 80% of the town's residential valuation. This cost burden should not solely rest on the Tri-Lakes members, nor should a town levy be imposed to restore our lakes. We are therefore looking at a portion of the room tax and a portion of the solar farm activities to help lower the burden, which will benefit the entire town. If the Tri-Lakes Management District did not exist, the entire burden would fall on the town. Other towns across the nation are in fact paying to restore their own lakes. We will also look for grants, and if received, any excess funds would be returned to the town. We have also assumed the Tri-Lakes members will contribute about 22% to the cost as noted on the worksheet that was on the table in the front when you walked in. Carl is prepared to answer any questions you may have on this project.
First, I'd like to make the motion, and second, go into discussion. Motion's under Wisconsin Statute 60.10, sub 2, sub I, for continuing the resolution of the annual meeting to authorize the town to allocate 80% of annual revenues from the Camelot Energy Center or other solar project over 20 years for watershed protection activities. Whereas the Tri-Lakes Management District has an equalized valuation of over 80% of the town of Rome's residential equalized value, and whereas improvement and protection of lake water quality contributes heavily to the maintenance and increase in property values which directly benefit the town, and whereas the property owners of the district will be asked to greatly contribute 22% of the overall cost of the district's proposed Nano project, I hereby move for approval of the continuing resolution to authorize the town of Rome to contribute 80% of revenues received from any solar farm project in the town for the next 20 years of payment to help cover the cost of the Tri-Lakes Management District Nano project to restore and protect the three lakes within the district and the town. I hereby further move that the continuing resolution should provide that to the extent the district receives additional funding through possible grants and other forms of compensation as anticipated, as well as 22%, approximately 22% shared costs of the landowners, that if the funds received from additional sources in any one year exceed an amount that would reduce the homeowner's cost below 22%, the district shall return all the excess funds to the town. We have a motion on the floor.
Second. Name please. Mary Madsen, 1141 South Archer Way.
The motion by Supervisor, or by Carl Haskell and the second by Mary Madsen. Discussion.
Diana Dilge, 1308 Burton Trail. How much is 80% of the 20-year revenue that you're anticipating?
We're looking at a total cost of $8 million if we spread over 20 years. We intend to take out a loan initially, first year probably, this year if possible, approximately $600,000, same will be through next year at $78,000. We are looking at total principal interest of about $680,000 to $690,000 a year. Town's contribution would be about $534,400.
Get into the mic.
Dan Stoyle, 875 Plymouth Court. In a previous life, I worked for an electric utility. The bubble system goes back 60 or 70 years in sewage plants. It's a proven technology. It went from coarse bubble to fine bubble, and it made it far more efficient for sewer plants. It takes the nutrients out of the water. By going to a smaller bubble, you're getting more oxygen per surface area and per cost of putting bubbles in. The technology is going to work. I didn't study the financial aspect, but it will clean up the lakes. Thank you.
All these years we've been doing Band-Aids. This is a solution. Finally, a solution.
Please speak into the microphone.
Dan Richard, 330 Huntington Court. My question is, the revenue from the solar project is only proposed revenue because it has not been approved.
Can't hear
you. Sorry, now I think it's on. Sorry about that. Dan Winter, 330 Huntington Court. What is the plan for replacing that revenue if in some event the solar project does not materialize? Where's the money going to come from that you're budgeting for your loan payments?
We have, the electors for the Tri-Lakes will make that determination. We will have, the original cost is $8 million. If they decide we're gonna spend less than that, if we don't get the revenues, it's their call. So we can operate at a full level or less. So they'll be approving our budget every year, so they'll do the final say in it anyway, the report to the electors.
Phil McLaughlin, a question. How far into this, how long into this, before you know if it's working and how well it's
One day.
working?
Seriously. We put this unit into the marina last year. The next day, you see the pipe in the water. Anybody here see what happened at the marina? We had quite a few people come through. They actually saw what it, they were, comments?
Diana Dilge, 1308 Birdie. You also mentioned taking some of the tourism dollars.
That's the second one.
Oh, you haven't done that motion yet? Okay.
Okay, I'll make my way back.
Teresa Janicki again. My question is, when the solar farm was brought up, what happens when the solar farm goes under? Do we have to then take care of disposal of everything there? Because they just get up and walk out and leave all their stuff there? And from what I've heard is disposing of these solar panels is gonna be very expensive, and have we actually thought about taking some of this money from the solar farm that the citizens of Rome get and put a fund for taking care of this first before we just put bubbles in water? I think we have to take care of this one problem first before we take care of another.
That's beyond the scope of this motion.
I think it's a very good plan though, don't you? Do you want to look at a bunch of solar farm garbage on the side of the road when?
No, I don't.
Oh, that's right, you want to look at your lake. Right.
Glenn Janicki, 1476 Roma Woods Drive. Cleaning up lakes is a good thing, and don't get me wrong, I'm not against it. But $6 million, how many millions of dollars are we in debt for roads? 8 million, whatever.
8 million.
Okay, 8 million, that's better yet. That's $8 million to this, and I understand the road lakes should be cleaned up and it's hard on it. But we've got other problems in town too. We've got roads, we've got infrastructure. You guys want to hire an administrator at Blue Pool, hundreds of thousands of dollars. We have all this other stuff hanging over our head. And I do understand giving some of this solar money to help the lakes. But that's a too big of a chunk. That's just ridiculous.
If the lakes go away, you won't worry about the road.
I'm not going to worry about the lakes. I'm not saying that. I know you are, because you have an agenda. And my agenda is to take care of everything else in this town also, sir. Not just the lakes.
If lakes go away, the town will be laid off. That's it.
The roads don't go away, the people don't go away, everybody will be here. Do we have to take care of this all at once?
It's a 20-year project, it isn't taken care of.
And how long are you gonna?
But you said in a day.
Agreement for, do we just keep working over money, working it over at 80%?
20 years.
Forever?
A little bit 20 years.
20 years. 20 years is a long time.
It's taken 50 years for the lakes to get destroyed. We can fix them.
Who destroyed it?
Next question. Near my ear.
Lynn Coiler, 490 Tomahawk Trail. So you're talking 20 years on financing, but isn't the project to the nano bubblers only 5 years that you're talking about?
No, we plan on keeping them on site because we still have fluids coming in with contaminants.
So for how long are the nano bubblers going to stay on site?
Well, we're initially, right now, we're looking at one large unit at 8th Avenue, possibly some smaller ones in some of the launch areas, and about 30 small ones in the bays and channels. They're in the worst shape.
You're not answering the question. How many years, Carl? 20, you're going to have nano bubblers for 20 years, then it's going to be more than $8 million.
Okay.
And if you're looking at the Tri-Lakes members putting their 22% of the bill, that's $1.7 million you're asking from the members.
Over 20 years, it's about $15 to $100,000 out there.
It's going to be more than that over 20 years.
No, that's the number. And if you like, the numbers are right on the page out in front, you come in. Let's share it cost.
Julie Ochinsky, 975 Pines Court. Was I correct in understanding when you said it was going to be 20%, you're going to raise it for us property owners every year?
22% comes out to about $15 per 100,000.
You've already more than doubled it since last year.
I'm sorry?
So how much is it going to keep going up?
No, that's a fixed cost. We look to take out a bond in about 2 years. And the bond, that's the monthly have to pay.
Use the microphone.
Excuse me, ma'am, we didn't hear your name first of all, and then we didn't hear your one comment. You said something doubled. What did you say? We didn't hear that.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, I'll just repeat it. Her name was Julie Ochinsky, and you did not hear what she said, so I will repeat it. I am her daughter, Taylor Ochinsky. Her address was 975 Pines Court, and she asked, since things have already more than doubled, what is since last year, in the future, what will be the price that it is going to, since you are proposing 22% in the future? What will it be going up in the future every year? Will it be 22% each year?
It'll stay the same every year. There'll be no increase. This is paying off a bond. We'll have a principal and interest due. One goes up, one goes down every year, and it will stay the same.
That's not the answer.
There were people who was working there. Thank you, John. He's right down.
No, didn't answer the question. That's
So I'm on. John Andreezy, 1491 Alpine Drive. Oh, 1591, it changed. I think maybe we're putting the apple before the cart here. And what I mean to say here is that there are permits that need to be let before any of this takes place. So I urge the audience not to commit any kind of monies that might not get paid back until such time as the DNR has passed judgment on the use of this nano bubbler. No more to say than that. Just hold your horses until the DNR approves this project.
Tom Dolan, 1024 Kingsway.
I can't say it again.
It's on.
You
Gotta put it
Put it
closer.
closer to your mouth.
Tom Dolan. Good. Tom. 1024 Kingsway. You hear?
And something 14th way.
Right.
14?
So the people that's gonna advance and this is gonna help is a property owner's assessment, right? The biggest person that's gonna gain by this then is Adams County. Is Adams County kicking anything in for this?
No.
No. But they're gonna benefit when we get.
We're, again, we didn't cause this problem. This came in from upstream. The county, the state, the DNR, they're the stewards, but we had no say in that. But it's hard to solve now. Right now, there's no grants. But down the road, I fully expect the DNR to embrace this whole technology. It's not like Dan Stoyle said, it's not a new technology, but it's a new use. And we are spearheading it for Wisconsin. We've got about 25 or 30 other lake districts right now, really knocking on the door to see what's gonna happen here. We've got 6 other lake districts that are applying for permits right now.
So the county owns how many feet of frontage? They own all the dam, they got frontage. Aren't they responsible for some of it then too? I think I'd go to the county, Adams County, and say, we want some of that money. We give them plenty.
They're getting 80 plus, 58% of the solar money. I don't disagree with you, but
That gentleman against the back wall there had his hand up before. Oh, okay, I'm sorry.
No, my question got answered.
Yeah, point me where you want.
And Donna Haskell here and Phil.
Okay, still Donna Hansel, 241 Penhurst. I have a question, and maybe get a raise of hands here. How many people have actually attended any of the Tri-Lake meetings or read any of the news bulletins that have come out from your property owners associations? Okay, have any of you, how many actually went down and saw the results just at the Arrowhead Marina? I will also tell you of a, very quickly, they also did a Moliere did a project in California, 3,000-acre lake. The town is actually funding it, the town of Ellesmere, $22 million. They funded the project. They had over the last 40 years, they have had 6 inches of clarity. They put this huge system in. Within 30 days, the visibility went from 6 inches to 6 feet. In 56 days, it went from 6 inches to 13 feet. They have no algae. They used to be closed. California closed 8 months out of the year because the algae was so bad. This process works. It not only helps the boaters swimming because of the algae, it will also increase the fish. I mean, fish will go where the oxygen is. In fact, they just did a facility in Norway, strictly for the salmon fishermen. The process works. And yes, it's a 20-year loan. But you say, oh, well, if the lakes are gone, the people will still be here. I know I won't be. If I can't use my lake and my grandchildren cannot swim in my lake, I'm not going to stay here. How many of your short-term rentals do you think you're going to be renting once the lake is full of algae? I'm not going to rent a home, you know, and I can't go in the lake. So with that, and the other test that they did do here was on Arrowhead. This is a solution. It actually gets rid of the muck. It gets rid of the muck on the bottom, the sediment, which all the boats are stirring up, and that comes up and creates the algae. So, I mean, it's a solution. All of a sudden, your lakes are going to be deeper. You're not going to have all that sediment, which have nothing but nutrients in it, floating up and creating algae. So, thank you.
Who's next?
Bill was next, and then this gentleman in the big part.
I have a couple of questions. First of all, who will be monitoring the effectiveness of this?
no. EOR, we have an engineering firm that operates on our behalf because we don't trust anybody else.
Well, that was gonna be my follow-up. So the company that's selling you this stuff is not the one who's gonna tell you how well it works?
No, not at all. In fact, if I may, EOR was very skeptical, they didn't like the process to begin with. He called me after we did some soundings and he asked me if we raised the water level on Arrowhead after the testing was done. I said, we've been going through a drought, we didn't raise water, we're probably down 60. He just laughed and said, you hit a home run.
All right, my other comment is, I just wanna make sure I understand this. It's a 20-year loan, or all right, bond, whatever. My point is, So after 20 years, you're gonna continue with the technology, yes or no?
Yeah, it's needed, yes. We'll probably be able to scale it back, because once we get the lakes back, once we get the lakes back to the condition they were 10, 15, 20 years ago, 30 years ago, we can scale it back quite a bit.
I reason I asked that question is because, I think most of us know the nutrients aren't automatically gonna stop coming in. These lakes are all fed from somewhere else.
So we intend to have a large unit at 8th Avenue, because that's where the majority comes in.
Adam Miller, 1110 Ivanhoe Court. I don't love talking in front of people, so thanks. Been part of the community now for 10 years. My family and I, we bought a cabin on Lake Sherwood, and appreciate, I mean, the community's been great, and we love all the additions the community's been making, and so we feel welcome, and we love all the investments that's been around. So the lakes, though, have been deteriorating, and I got 3 kids. One of them's 10, and he gets some reactions to his body anytime the water gets kind of how it gets. So fortunately, it just means he can do 1 day in the lake. He's got to take 2 days off, and that's not as fun to tell a 10-year-old that, you know, he can't go in the lake. So we also have family and friends who come up, and same thing. It's embarrassing to, you know, have a lake and not be able to use it. So I understand it's an investment. I understand we don't know exactly where all the funds will come from, but to me it seems like a reasonable investment to make sure this community, not only the lake owners, but all businesses that you know, are supported by everybody who lives here. You know, we go to Papa Bear's mini golf probably every other day because my kids keep asking, right? And you all say everybody will still stick around and be here. Well, my family's going to search for a different place to go for vacation. We're not going to be here if we don't have a place to go with the lakes. So anyways, I'm glad there's finally a solution that's much more long-term versus, like they said, that are Band-Aids. That's a proven technology. I understand it's newer, but I hope there's some support to make sure this community is continuing to be a vibrant, growing community instead of a dying one.
Tim Mitchell, 178 Walden Court. The thing I've noticed so far is that this technology is great and it works so good. What's wrong with putting one in each lake and letting it do its work over time instead of spending the money on 70 of them or however many it was? If this technology is so good and it's working in 30 days in California, why do we need 20 years of it to clean the lakes up? If it's a 3,000-acre lake that's being cleaned in 30 days, what do we need 70 of them for? And what's wrong with one of them at 8th Avenue if it's all coming in from there? It's going to slowly work, but it'll be 20 years at one bubbler versus $8 million over 20 years.
That one machine on Lake Elsinore was $2 million. It operates at 9,500 gallons a minute. The machines we'll be getting here, the smaller units will be in the bays, which obviously couldn't handle something that large. It's a 40-foot container. The ones we put in the bays and the channels that are in dire straits right now operate at about 150 gallons a minute on 3-inch pipes. We do plan on putting a large one at the 8th Avenue bridge where it's coming in. That'll be about 2,500 gallons a minute. So they're different sized machines. Lake Elsinore also, they spent the $2 million on that machine. They just ordered 2 more.
So in perspective, how many gallons a minute are we going to turn this water over then?
It's not a matter of turning the water over. It's a matter of getting the nanobubbles into the system and they spread out. Nanobubbles will last up to several months, up to a year. And they do the work for us. Again, you can come to our meetings. We have 3 meetings scheduled next week. I know a lot of people are signed up for it. We will have this, it'll also be on Zoom. We'll also have it on YouTube and our website. You can listen to Chris from Moyer. He's our knowledge guy. He's one of them. He'll explain anything anybody cares to hear. If you got any questions, I can answer. He says we can. Our engineers are working for us.
Somebody else got a question?
Tracy Wagner, 1155 South Archers Way.
Am I understanding this correctly, that without the DNR's blessing, this project doesn't fly?
We're in the process of applying for the permits now. We have a permit, I got a permit one day for our test that we're gonna do at the Camelot Lodge, showing what the machine is capable of doing, also for sound. It runs about 55 decibels, is one of the normal ones. We did request a permit for a much bigger application and a little more expensive. They came back and suggested we go with a smaller one, so they haven't approved our permits yet. We're still in that process, but it looks pretty doable.
Chuck Lauer, 268 Cranbrook Court. Isn't it possible for individuals to put in their own bubblers?
Yes.
I mean, I drive around the lake and I see bubblers. I've had a bubbly type machine for probably 6-7 years now. So you come by, you know, clear up the water. I cost on it at least 6 years ago.
Yeah, those aerators only put oxygen in, 21% oxygen out of atmosphere to shoot up. It does not do anything with them up. It does clarify a little bit, it does put some oxygen in there. And I don't know if there's much more than that. The new one we're putting in at 8th Avenue, condenses the oxygen, takes nitrogen out, it will put in 90% oxygen back into the water. And it attacks the pump. The machine, the one we're getting, the smaller units, run around 20,000 each.
Yeah, Ken Jacobs, 805 Richmond Court. We've been here for about 11 years, and we live right on 8th Avenue. We're basically the first house as you come out of the channel. And I see every day the stuff coming out of the channel, floating down Camelot, and keep on floating down there. I've seen good years, and I've seen some bad years, and it's mostly been bad years of the stuff on the lake. If this continues, I don't think we'll have to worry about road structures or anything like that, because we won't have nobody coming up here to visit our lakes anymore. I mean, the businesses, I mean, how much money do we raise, and I shouldn't say raise, but we see during the summer from all the residents coming up here to use our lakes. And if they continue looking like this, we won't have to worry about road structures or business or anything like that anymore. Thank you.
I think the matter at hand is the 80% of these funds when the town needs it in other places.
On your spreadsheet, you show Clyde Furmeister, 180 Walton Court. On the spreadsheet, you show P&I payments. What about the O&M, operations and maintenance? Where's that covered?
That covers all of it. These are their estimates, and we are being as conservative as possible. These are based on costs they've done in other locations, and this takes into consideration maintenance over the next 20 years. Shut them down for the winter. We're not going to leave them out in the winter, but shut them down and any other maintenance needed on the machine.
Could you repeat your name, please?
Clyde Furmeister. Dan Scoyle, 875 Plymouth Court. I've been coming up here since 1973. When we first came up, the lakes were nice. You could see down 5-6 feet. We didn't have weeds. We didn't have all these other problems. And that was right after the lakes were put in. And if you look at the growth of the town from then till now, it's the lakes that have driven the growth in the town. If you didn't have the lakes, you wouldn't have the band shell and all the other stuff that we have up here. You wouldn't have the 2 Arrowhead golf courses because you wouldn't have the lakes. So think about it. The lakes is your golden goose. Don't kill the golden goose. It's also the tax revenue for the town. If the lake values go down, your tax revenue is going to go down significantly. Thank you.
Someone that hasn't spoken in yet that has something to say? Okay, here, Jackie, and then we got Tom Hooks against the wall, and anyone else that hasn't spoken yet.
Jackie Cole, 1711 Archer Lane. First, I want to compliment Carl and Tri-Lakes, because I know you're dedicated and it's your passion to clean up the lakes. And that's appreciated by everybody. And I also agree the lakes are of high value to the town. That's obvious. People use them, they enjoy them. They're what are most, this is a hot topic, voting is a hot topic. So all of that. I do question using 80% of money that we don't have right now and something that you vehemently opposed us having. So part of me is like, now do you want this solar farm? Because before you didn't. So I know you don't, but you're figuring it's going to happen anyway. But I'm wondering if rather than having such a huge project, 6, 8 million, I've heard all different numbers for this project, couldn't it be smaller? Could you do it or start it on one lake? Just do it on Camelot, for instance, that flows to the other two lakes, and see its effectiveness, give people a chance to see that this works, doesn't work for a lesser cost. Does it have to be all or nothing? So, and I mean, I think it's a valid question. Maybe I'm silly because I don't understand all of this, but this is a tremendous amount of money you're asking from people and a tremendous commitment for something we're taking your word for. The example Donna gave us, thank you, Donna, that was an enclosed lake, a reservoir. It's not a lake fed by a creek like ours is. But it's not a creek like ours is. It's a different application than ours, so that's just my question. Could we try it as a larger pilot and look to doing this? I'm all for it. I like the idea of it, but maybe not all in right now. Is that a possibility?
Well, first of all, I'm not in favor of this project, but face facts. If it's going through, let's make good out of it. As far as sending this back, we're already only at 10%. The DNR came back to us and said we could operate at 10% of the rest. So we are already scaled back substantially from what we were looking at originally. To do one lake and not another doesn't, to me, it doesn't make sense. We're just putting out the inevitable. We do believe this. Our board voted unanimously before this project. It's still up to our electors too, how they want to spend the money. They're going to be part of this with us. So, seeing what we've seen, seeing the results. Again, they've got over 3,000 operations around the world for many different functions. They treat wastewater, they treat fish farms, they treat stream, you name it. They're in it. They are pros. They've only been doing this for 7 years. And I got a feeling right now that the DNR is going to be inundated with many, many more of these requests. We're already only at 10% right now.
Could I just follow up with that? Sorry. So you have made a request to the DNR and they have replied to you. Is that statement of what they've said, the request and the DNR report available that people could read what DNR has said about your request and about all of this project? Because I know I've read it, and so I'm just wondering if that could be available for people to understand and know what DNR said about it. Because I hear sometimes two sides to things, and it would only be fair that people understand everything.
Keep in mind that DNR does not have a research team. I was at a seminar last week for 3 days.
Carl, talking with Mike.
I was at we were at a symposium last week, Mark and I, for 3 days, so going through them. We were there for 3 days, and the DNR was there, and we were a little bit surprised the DNR does not have a research team. None of them came by any of the booths to see what was going on. This is new to them too. They're kind of caught with their pants down. They don't know what to do, they don't know how to handle it, they don't understand it that well. We got approval to use ozone, which we're not going to use initially. We got approval to use ozone for their debt cap subsidiaries, but the DNR said, well, we still don't trust it. And asked them, they got approval, and they said no. The DNR in Minnesota, Ohio, Florida, and California has already approved the whole process. Moyer has a license to handle compressed air and as well as ozone through the US EPA. We're not dealing with amateurs here. And this is their suggestion to scale it back to 10% of the lakes, but we want to hit the bays and the channels where it's most often most needed.
Supervisor Minter? And then it goes after Supervisor.
Dan Minter, 330 Huntington Court. On the right-hand side of your spreadsheet, you have some columns where it talks about the mill rate, which I'm assuming would be the tax rate that those of us who live in the Tri-Lakes District would be paying. And you have a best case and a worst case. I'm assuming, what is the best case and what is the worst case? It has to do with whether or not you get funding for this project from the town funds?
Correct.
So if we didn't get town funding, we'd be looking at $67 a thousand, 100,000 versus 15.
Correct. We are going to be applying for grants down the road through different sources. And again, the electors for Tri-Lakes will make the final call on this, what we actually do spend.
Call for the question.
So there was one gentleman that has had his hand up for a while, we didn't get his question, and then I think it was one more, but, yeah, but he had his hand up before he called the question. I know that he had his hand up.
Dick Willis, 1629 Kingswood Trail. Carl, you and I have talked about some of this, and I walk for the Clean Lakes, Clean Waters, and I think you guys got a system here that works. My question is kind of a financial one. You got expected 42% of solar farm, $336,000. That hasn't even started yet. And you want to get this project rolling relatively soon, I think.
Yes, we're going to. Well,
my question is, what's going to improve the game?
You, the electors, you're going to make the final decision. When we come up with our budget, come this September, you're going to tell us what we can or can't spend. We're going to come up with our basic suggestions budget. You can come back and tell us what we can and can't do. We may have some more, hopefully some more funding by then.
Nick, call the question does not require a vote, is that correct?
You can call the question and take it to a vote. You can also continue on with this. If it takes a vote, you're going to need a 3/4 vote and call the question. That was 3/4.
Yeah. There was a gentleman over here, I don't call the question. Because there's nothing before any discussion, but okay, still then.
There's a good chance I'm going to vote no to this, but I want to say a little bit about why. I don't live on it, but I served on the Tri-Lakes Board for several years as a town board rep. I realize that the vitality of the lakes is vital for the town of Rome. I don't think there's anybody in here that really doesn't grasp that. I mean, that's, other than that, a question. I've heard the word muck used several times, and I think sediment used several times. Now, when we're saying muck, are we assuming, or is there proof that that's all organic matter?
This will go after the organic matter and reduce it.
I realize
sand. Any sand, no.
But that's what I'm getting at, because that sediments, I got news for you. I don't care what you do unless you dredge, you're not gonna remove sediment.
Yeah, we did, when we did the marina, we removed a foot of muck out of the marina. And you, 76 days.
Well, along the way with all this studying and all in doing this, was determined what the percentage of that muck is that's organic and that this will actually get rid of.
Anything organic. What it does is the.
Well, that's not what I asked. I what the percentage of the muck.
Yeah. What percentage, all of it, eventually.
I believe there was a gentleman over here that had his hand up.
Call the question.
Sharon Schermerhorn, 106 Juniper Lane. I really don't believe I'm the only one here that really doesn't understand the process of this? How does the nanobubbles get into the lake? Is it generated by something? Does it involve electricity? Are these, whatever this involves, is it going to be running all day and all night long for, you said you were going to turn it off during the winter? I guess I know I'm not the only one, but I'm very confused by the process of this and what is needed to produce these nanobubbles. I mean, you can help me?
We're gonna have a small machine over at Camelot Lodge, next Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. It's a small unit, it's about 33 inches by 4 foot by 33 inches high. It runs about 55 decibels. Those are the ones to be located around the lakes and the bays and channels, smaller units. It will run 24/7. We will pay for electricity, we will pay for installation, and any other things that are needed on it. The larger machine will be on a container. We're trying to get into a 20-foot container, but it's going to be a 2,500 gallon a minute unit with a 24-inch hose, or 18-inch, I guess, intake and expel. And it will bring that water in and it will expel it, 2,500 gallons a minute. And that will be at 8th Avenue at this point. That's what we're looking at. So we do have it on our website. We've got a whole process on there. If you want to go to Moyer website, moyer.com, I believe it is. All the explanations on there, all the different machines. Yeah, I'd like to get that 9,000 gallons, but we're not going to do it.
Madam Chair, what say you? You want me to?
Yeah, we're gonna honor that gentleman's, but I do have a question for everyone. Do you wanna just mention, Nick, for the room this evening to verify, although this is a motion made on the floor by the people and seconded by the people, is this not just a resolution to authorize the board, that this does not commit us to any sort of action? Can you clarify that?
Right, this is a grant of authority, just like we saw with the last agenda item. It's also, technically, I think, what I'm hearing is some appropriation of money directive as well, but it would be an authorization for the town to do this. The town board would still make the ultimate call on how to go forward.
So as you heard earlier, we don't even have a project yet, or we know how much money we're getting from a project that we don't even know if it's going forward, so we can't commit funds. Oh, we can't commit funds we don't have. So, all right, so the gentleman called the question, and
I'll second the motion.
I didn't get the first one.
the gentleman who called the question, please could you give us your name? Who called the question over here?
John Andresi.
John did? Oh,
Yes.
John's gone, or where did he go?
I'm here.
Oh, he moved this, okay, thank you, John.
Good for you.
James,
That's a non-debatable motion. Doesn't make it.
questions? Bill? Oh, okay.
Madam Chair, probably the easiest way to do it would be just have the no raise theirs, and if you have a number that is sufficient, then you call the question and move forward with it.
All right, we'll read it again. All right. Yeah. Yeah, we're voting on stopping the discussion, so raise your red cards for stopping the discussion.
Again, the vote is for stopping the discussion and proceeding to the actual vote that is the motion right now. Green would mean stop, red would mean keep going.
Green is stopping. Okay.
I think you probably have a sufficient number. Just do it by acclamation.
Now, affirmed by acclamation, that was yes. All right, so now, motion, so we'll take a vote on the motion made on the floor under Wisconsin Stat 6010 sub 2I for a continuing resolution of the annual meeting to authorize the town to allocate 80% of annual revenues from the Camelot Energy Center or solar project over 20 years for watershed protection activities. All those in favor, green cards. No would be red.
Please hold on wide.
All no's now?
Keep the reds up if you're a red.
Yeses, 24 no, 27 no's, sorry. 84-27.
Attention to the motion, please.
Motion under Wisconsin statute 60.10, substitute sub-I for continuing resolution of the annual meeting to authorize the town to allocate 80% of annual revenues for the town's share of room tax collections for watershed protection activities. Whereas the Tri-Lakes Management District has an equalized valuation of over 80% of the town of Rome's residential equalized valuation, and whereas the improvement and protection of the lake water quality contributes equally to the maintenance and increase in property values, which directly benefit the town, and whereas the property owners of the district will be asked to directly contribute 22% to the overall cost of the district's proposed annual public project, I hereby move for approval of the continuing resolution to authorize the town of Rome to contribute 80% to the town's room tax receipts for the next 20 years to help cover the cost of the Tri-Lakes Management District's Nano Bubble project, to restore and protect the water quality of the 3 lakes within the district and town. I hereby further move that the continuing resolution should provide that to the extent the district receives additional funding through possible grants and other forms of compensation as anticipated, as well as 22% share cost of the land owners, that if the funds received from additional sources in any 1 year exceed an amount that would reduce the homeowner's cost below 22%, the district shall return all the excess funds to the town.
Second.
I can start off with the discussion on this one.
2023, $265,000 roughly would be the 80% that was going to be tri-lakes. The town would retain $66,409. That's $265,000 that's going to come out of your operating budget for other expenses that the town owns, such as roads, police, fire, snow removal. We are under levy limits here. We cannot exceed the levy limits, so if you cut this money, tourism money out, that is going to impact your services. Thank you.
I did did you say ambulance? Did you add ambulance? You did. Oh, well, you forgot, there's ambulance in there as well.
Jerry Iverson, 1711 Archer Lane. Chief, can you repeat those figures, please?
In the 24 budget, they say 80% of the town's 30% would be 265,634 is the anticipated number.
All right, just to clarify, it's 80% of the 30% that the town receives.
Correct, and that number is...
So it does not affect the 70% that goes to Visit Rome?
No.
Thank you.
One thing I might add, we do anticipate roof tax to increase over the years. I'm sure everybody anticipates that. And again, that's why we put the little disclaimer in there that if it exceeds the amounts that they're requesting, we'll be returned back to the town.
Donna Gasco, 241 Penhurst. And as much as I appreciate Jackie's recommendation that we slow down and maybe only do one lake or, at a time, but the process that way would not really work. You've got, each of these lakes are draining into each other. And first of all, I'm sure all three lakes here are represented, so who wants their lake done first? Arrowhead, see, and if they did that, it would come to Camelot, because Camelot feeds the other two lakes, so you would have to start upstream. So that's why it's it's got to be the whole project. And this project was way more at the beginning. I mean, they've already cut back because they really have had everyone's interest at heart in trying to keep the costs down. Thank you.
Nick, I have more of a breakdown here, if I could just, Jason may have these numbers, he can verify for me, and I got them from our clerk treasurer. In our 2024 budget, 50,000 went towards parks and the RTC capital project. We had money that we shared with host compliance with Visit Rome. We had 229,000 is going towards remodeling projects here at the town hall that are necessary for this community room. And we had 48,000 going towards other capital projects that we would not be able to spend. In 2023, we put money towards, or where's the money here that we had? Timberline extension for the water main in order to put a road in. Now we need to come up with the money in order to put in the road. The band shell received $64,828, and we paid another $48,000 for host compliance. That's what we use to monitor the short-term rentals in town, handle complaints, code enforcement, that sort of thing. So when you're looking at that money that comes in from short-term rentals, it goes up and down. We have short-term rentals that go up and down. You're looking at monies that we get from room tax. That subsidizes our budget. So what's interesting to me that if I might just add, I do also believe and appreciate their work that they do. Water is important, but it's one component of tourism. Everybody moves here for their interest, but golf, whether or not you like it, has helped this community grow, and it will continue to grow because of the different interests in the town and why people come here. Water is important, golf is important, tourism is important, and all of the families that came here many, many years ago continue generation after generation to stay here. And that brings all of the values of our homes up. Not just legislation changes year after year after year. One member of the Tri-Lakes Board is a state legislature, and he in fact knows this. Our shared revenue increased for the very first time last year. I was there when the governor signed the bill. We were thankful. One town got a 500% increase, and the mayor north of us was upset that they got a 500% increase. You know what that bought that little town? An indoor bathroom. We got an additional $89,000 that helped us, that we could put in our budget. When we see little increases like this, it comes with attachments. Shared revenue came with an attachment last year that we now need to report back. We maintain a certain level of protective services. That means police and fire, EMS. Those are mandated services we need to provide to you. Yes, we want clean water. Yes, we want good roads. A lot of towns are going back to gravel roads. We have a lot of cul-de-sacs that will be gravel if we don't maintain them. The choices are difficult and hard. So I just want to share that with you that yes, by us holding red cards up here, that doesn't mean we don't believe in good water. That's hard for us. But giving you this money over 20 years, what do you want us to cut out? That would be the question over the next 20 years. What do we cut out? An ambulance? I mean, who has a stroke or heart attack? We don't respond. Those are things that we need to think about. So getting this money over 20 years' time is a question that we as leaders have to do that for. And so I'm just sharing that breakdown with you. I'm sorry, I'm waving my mic around the sun, but those are choices we have to make. So everybody has their commitment to something, but as your leader, we have to look at the entire town and its values and what everybody's interests are. So I wanted to give you that breakdown that tourism money put in the water main in the park so that development could go in, housing could go in, tax rates, more taxes could come in, that maybe taxes don't have to go up next year. And maybe money could be returned. Those are things we talk about. So I just wanted to share that with you. I don't know if anybody else wants to share anything.
Regarding the road, water mains and everything in the town center, what sort of return is the board expecting on that? I've heard that you don't have anybody wanting the property right now. You're just gonna put it up for sale and stuff like that. What is return on investment for all the money that you put into it?
We actually have a developer interested in buying the land right now and 2 others coming forward in the near future.
Mark Lebecki, 931 Sussex Court. Lori just mentioned supplemental income that we're talking about here. It's a small percentage of the dollars Rome operates off of. So as far as cutting services, it's not quite as critical as she described it, I don't believe. We've got tax dollars too, not just supplemental income, right? If I'm not mistaken, the Lakes District is 80% of the value of Rome, which makes it about $1 billion with a B. I believe the Lake District is talking about $8 million for this project, which is a very small percentage of the $1 billion. So what has driven this town in the past, what has made the greatest percentage of its value now is the Lake Districts. And most of you here are part of that. None of us is qualified to assess the total tax dollars that the town spends or how they use it. We trust the administrator, we trust our board to use it responsibly. But what the Lakes District is asking for is not 80% of the town's tax dollars. right? No, they're not asking for 80% of their tax dollars. They're asking for, you gotta keep apples and oranges separate here. Thank you.
Instead of them coming to the town to putting their foot down and saying, we want 80%, I think it would have probably been better off to come in here humbly and maybe ask for some help instead of pointing out how much they want. And let the board look at their numbers and see what we can afford to help out an entity that chose to be where they were years ago.
Dan Mentor, 330 Huntington Court, and probably what I'm about to say is not going to make me popular with my fellow Lakes District residents, but as a Lake District resident, I would much rather see my Lake District taxes go up than have to sacrifice general services for the town, which, knowing how the budget is put together, there will be choices, if this goes through, there will be choices that we will have to make in November when that final budget comes forward, that we will not be able to spend money on some projects of some sort. But that's just me, my own personal opinion. And I know I'll get that chance to voice that when the Lakes District has their elected meeting.
Just piggybacking on what Teresa had said as well, I would have appreciated that conversation as well. If we could have had, when we have a Tri-Lakes member from the town board, having those conversations, having open lines of communication would have been a better, I think, opportunity to have that discussion and actually going to the county. We talk about different pots of revenue. One thing that we don't often talk about either, which I've had this conversation with our representatives at the county level, is that they've had the 9 key element plan they've been working on, and then there's pots of revenue down there that they've used to spend on that with no results. So minimal, I should say, excuse me, correction, I'm sorry. There have been people working hard on that, but now you've found that there's been minimal results. So, but there's revenue down there, sales tax. As our businesses, small business owners are coming in and they're creating more sales tax, the sales tax, we have very little say in that. So as a community, we have that conversation with the economic development people down at Adams County and say, hey, how could you help us with our lakes? How can you help the rest of the lakes in Adams County? Can that sales tax that we're all generating as part of tourism help us clean up the lakes? Don't just come and all of a sudden say, you want all of this money, it's our responsibility, and you want it now before some of these other projects are, because you don't know how it's gonna affect us. Because levy limits, we are bound by levy limits. Yeah, the year before we had what, 7 point something. Last year we had a surprising only 4.9. We don't know what it'll be this year, and they're not going to take that limit off of us anytime soon. And I think it's amounted to what, $149,000. Yeah. So. No, you can't. Let's give someone else. Is there anyone else that has a comment, or if somebody is interested in calling the question this time?
I have a quick comment there. You folks have a vote here, and the county just don't. The county's not going to contribute anything.
You actually do. You have 3 board representatives at the county level, and you've got some really good representatives there. You've got 2 of them in the audience tonight. I recommend you speak to them, and they're on some really good committees. I would recommend you speak to them. They might be able to help us.
Dan Stoyle, 8755 Plymouth Court. I'm looking at your general fund financial page that you had. It says 23 actual is $10,223,000 and change. Total expenses was $8,238,000. If you look at the $200,000 that Carl's requesting, that's 2% of the total revenues for 2023. I'm pretty sure the town board could save 2% someplace in their expenses. Thank you very much.
Cheryl Dodd, 984 Falls Court. I have a very loud Cheryl Dodd, 984 Falls Court. Lori, well, I totally appreciate, obviously, the board needs to make decisions on where the money is being spent. You know, we're not going to cut ambulances and fire chiefs and, police services. But we could probably look at, do we need a band shelter? Do we need more playground equipment? Do we need other things that might not be as important, next year or 5 or 10 years down the road, whereas the water quality might be more important?
Bob, can you please share how the band shell was paid for?
Turn your mic on. I guess my point is that everything needs to be put into the grand scheme of it. I understand that it was paid for this time by donations, but you referenced that as that also coming out of the room rate, and that those funds were used for some of the things that were done at the business park. That was my point.
In years gone by, the band shell was funded in part through room tax revenue. $25,000 came from the town of Rome. We had major donors from the Legacy Foundation, from Visit Rome, and from the Calusa Port Edward State Bank that paid for it. So all I'm saying is that going forward this year, we're budgeting $50,000 for Parks and Rec. We're not going to be able to do too much as far as pickleball courts this year, but probably next year that was the plan. All that money that comes, the $50,000 I'm talking about, comes from room tax revenue.
Donna Basso, 241 Penhurst. The only thing I wanted to mention was when the chair was talking about DNR and the 9th element plan, and we should be going after the county for the money. We went to a meeting on water quality 20 years ago. Here we are 20 years later, nothing has improved. In fact, it's got considerably worse. We have the 9th element plan, which was funded 75% by the DNR and 25% by Tri-Lakes taxpayers. That position is currently open. There have been very little results from it, and that position is open. Adams County, when they hired that position, which was funded by DNR and Tri-Lakes, they were going to hire that individual then to stay on full time. Well, they're not doing that now. So just so you know, right now there's nobody working on a 9th element plan.
I call for the vote.
So the DNR hasn't approved. All right, there's a
There was
call.
a second, Madam Chair. I didn't get the name.
All right, so we need, who called it and who made the second?
I called it.
All right, who made the second?
Mark Samuelson.
In favor of calling the question, raise your green cards. Oh, to
Calling the
stop-
question.
yeah, well, to stop the question.
Stopping the discussion.
Or discussion. It's getting late. We have another meeting. It looks like, so we'll,
It's one no, the rest are yes.
So now you have your motion and second. So
Yep.
now you take a vote on the motion. You took a vote so far on calling the question.
Right. So now we'll take a Vote on the motion under Wisconsin Stat 6010 Sub 2I for a continuing resolution of the annual meeting to authorize the town to allocate 80% of annual revenues from the town's share of room tax collections for watershed protection activities. Green cards for all those in favor. Green cards only, please.
Green
Green
cards
cards
only.
only for in favor.
Red.
So that's $1 million, over 6,000 houses.
Yeses, 39 noes. 68 to 39? Yes.
Were there any other issues that anyone from the floor wanted to bring before us this evening? It's your meeting. Anyone? All right, then we'll move on to item number 10, introduction of our new official. You've been sworn in, but we'll introduce Supervisor Tom Gabriel. He wants to stand.
All right, Carol.
All right, then we have set the 2025 annual meeting date. Third Tuesday is April 15th, 2020.
I propose that our annual meeting in 2025 be on the third Thursday, which would be the 17th of April, instead of Tuesday, the 15th of April. So that would be my motion. That the annual meeting in 2025 be Thursday, April 17th.
And I'll second that motion. All in favor? Aye. Oh.
A purely selfish reason, I'm the president of Assumption Catholic Schools up in Wisconsin Rapids, and my board meeting is the third Tuesday of every month. And I already block off the first and third Thursdays for the town meetings, so purely selfish, I would like it to stay on a Thursday, like we always are.
And then we also have our town attorney who has a conflict with his other municipality that's on Tuesday. And just for clarification, there was some misunderstanding. This meeting was moved, and by state statute, we're allowed to have this meeting within 10 days after the third Tuesday of the month. And it was moved at last year's meeting, just like we are doing tonight. So, thank you. So all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. All right. So I need a motion to adjourn the meeting.
I'll make the motion to adjourn.